Alright, hey, what's up guys, it's Alninio here, and this is going to basically be a video where I will be teaching you guys how to win games with Katarina. Because a lot of times, you see a lot of people go like 20 kills, 2 deaths, and then they lose with Katarina. But they think, well, coulda done better here and there, sure, but I should have won that game because, I had a big impact in the game. There will be, sadly, games like that where you perform well, but you still lose either way. That's the sad part about Katarina, is because she has a very strong mid game, but in the late game, it's about your team being able to rotate properly and know how to take objectives and punishing death timers, but you are also a shot caller in that term, so we're going to explain to you why you're losing your games like that, and what to do to avoid it as much as possible. It's gonna happen inevitably sometimes here and there, like if your team is not strong enough. For example, if your AD carry does 20k damage in 40 minutes in the game and you're skyrocketing in damage, that's not good. Your AD carry should have done more, that's on him. But you've tried everything you can with all your capabilities, but there are some games where you try your best but you cannot win. So in this video, we're going to showcase and tell you the best stages of the game for Katarina. So there are 3 stages in League of Legends. There is early game, mid game, late game. Early game Katarina is pretty strong. It's not too bad. She has strong all-in potential. She has kill lane pressure, by the way, which is, one of her strongest suits during the lane. Assassins are usually not the best at farming. Mages and long-range poking champions are better at farming, but keep in mind that this does not mean you should not prioritize CS in any way. But just to let you know that Katarina is strong in the early game due to her all-in kill lane pressure, and if you know how to combo. We're not going to get into combos in this video. I do have a Katarina School series that explains Katarina's combos if that's what you're trying to look for, but in this video we're keeping it strictly on how to win games with her. So early game, pretty strong, okay, she's good. Mid game, she is very good, very strong, very powerful, has a lot of impact in the game. So mid game is really where you want to shine and put in as much as you can for your team so that your team can safely transition into late game. So a lot of the times you have to make calls as a mid laner, because it is very important that when you're ahead you try to do what's best to make you win. You have to understand, what do I have to do to win this game, right? That means roaming. That means after killing the enemy mid laner, you recall and back and buy, because enemy death timers are pretty short in the early game, and that's why it's very punishing late game to die, because of long death timers. You can take so many things, and that's why comebacks happen and throws happen, because of death timers. So you have to keep that in mind. In the mid game, you're very strong. Use that to your full potential. In the mid game, let's say you're 3-0 in lane against your enemy mid laner, you're ahead in CS, ahead in XP, stop trying to kill that enemy mid laner and try to do some other stuff around the map, such as, roaming. Roam to bot lane, help them win their lane, let them get a turret, and then tell them, hey, now you can go mid lane, 2v1 the enemy mid laner, and I'll go bot, and I'll, deal with the enemy bot lane, and farm there at the same time. So that's a good way to go around it, because it's very important not to have 3 people in the mid lane in like the mid game stages, because you want solo XP still. You're still a mid laner. You want to gather as much resources for yourself as possible. If you group up as 3 in the mid game to try to take a turret, you're actually slowly kind of putting yourself behind. You want to gather as much XP in CS in one lane only. The reason you want your bot lane to rotate mid in the mid game, you want to let them rotate the mid so that they can get the outer turret in mid lane if you haven't gotten it yet. It's very good that mid laners would let their bot lane rotate to their mid lane and then rotate the top lane so they can take every outer turret. But anyway, that's for the mid game, and we're gonna go a bit more deeper into this in a bit. Late game, that is one of her weakest stages of the game. You might disagree with me on that, but hold that, alright? Hold that thought real quick, because in the late game, Katarina is mediocre at best, because there's a lot of MR items, health stacking, and things that you have to watch out for as Katarina. There is more that can deal with her. In the mid game, people don't have that much resistances, people don't have that much health, and this is Katarina's strongest state, because she is able to one-shot people and do her role as an assassin. In the late game, people are going to be able to handle that pretty well. Basically, if your bot lane isn't strong, and you're the only strong one, you have to do as much as you can in the mid game to make sure that they are strong, so that you are ready for late game and you are prepared to win the game. You have to understand the bigger picture. I could totally see, I mean, I'll be honest, I have seen gold players, platinum Katarina players that are actually very good mechanically. They can play the game at a decent mechanical level. They have a lot of Katarina games, you know, but what they don't take into consideration sometimes is the map game, the objective game. This game isn't all about the mechanical aspects. You have to have two strong RTPs that you need to implement in your games. One, you have to be decent with mechanics. The other one is being good with game knowledge. And I think game knowledge in League of Legends is the single best way to climb elo. Yes, Katarina's fun, Katarina's great, but you also need to know how to win the game. That's why you don't see yourself climbing as hard, because you don't implement those things that you gotta implement to win games with Kat. But knowing how to win with Katarina will help you climb, because not only would you be good mechanically with the champion, but you'd also understand rotations, and you'd understand when to get turrets, and all that stuff really comes together when you have these two things implemented. The third thing for climbing would be probably attitude and how you look at the game. Let's say you're ahead, but then you blame your team and you let that affect you. I think that will kind of put you behind, and I'm kind of a little bit guilty on that end sometimes, but I don't throw myself at my allies, but I do sometimes get extremely frustrated. That's something on my end, because all the times I snowball, I kick ass, but we still lose anyway. It happens. You have to understand, some games are inevitably, sometimes you're not able to win, even if you're strong. If your AD carry doesn't do what he's supposed to do, and he's behind and weak, and you can just do your best. That's all you can do, is wait for cooldowns late game and go in and try to do all you can there. So that's pretty much early, mid, and late game. Those are her stages of the game. Now we're gonna jump into the map game and how to play around that. Okay, so here we are with how the map's looking, right? So let's say you're 3-0 in this lane. Okay, you are 3-0, for example. You're snowballing your lane. You are just destroying this enemy mid laner. The best thing to do is shove the wave and push it all the way forward, and then try to look for a roam at bot lane or top lane. The reason you want to shove lane is because, okay, you're gonna keep killing her over and over and over and over. That's great, you have strong kill pressure, but sometimes you'd focus too much on your lane that you could do so much more with Katarina by roaming and helping out your top lane or bot lane when you see an opportunity for a roam. So you have to think ahead. Okay, shove this lane, and then I'm gonna go bot. You have to have like a game plan. Once you have that game plan, you can proceed with that. So yeah, you go bot lane. Okay, she is, let's say the enemy mid laner is farming under her turret because you just shoved lane. She's farming up here. You walk down here, right? Let's say they overextended. Let's say they do have a ward in here, right? Pink ward. You go through with it. You go through and you get 2 kills, and then head back mid lane to stop the wave, because the enemy mid laner is going to push that, and you should be back here to farm that. So that's your typical early game, you know, how to play around it if you're snowballing. You can't always snowball lanes though. So if you're against someone like a Heimerdinger who's going to constantly push you under turret, and you're constantly just stuck here, it is hard to roam like this, and all you have to do is just focus on the CSing and focus on getting ahead. You will be able to kill Heimerdinger. You're still Katarina, and you are able to do that. I have personally done that many times. You just start Doran Shield against Heimerdinger, and you try to play around it, and just, you have to understand in matchups, you can't always win lane. There are some matchups that are more favorable for the enemy laner. So you have to understand that. Like, you have to come into the game knowing, like, okay, no problem. I know how this lane's gonna go. I'm gonna start doing shit. I'm gonna farm up, right? So that's how you typically play around, you know, someone who has a better lane advantage over you. It might be hard to roam. Now, mid game, this is where the important stuff comes in. So here's where you really want to pay attention. So let's say here, okay, you destroy the enemy laner. You're going bot lane, right? You got a successful roam. These two are dead, and they are back in Fountain, right? They're on death timers right now. You want to use this time. If you can get the turret and it's on low health, like let's say half health, you push it all the way with them, and you take the turret. So boom, one turret down. Now what you do here, recall, all of you recall, right? You get the turret, you recall. You have no reason to keep pushing all the way here. No reason. Because at this stage of the game, you're in the early stages, death timers are not that high, and you have no reason to go for a tier 2. So recall, okay, with your bot lane recall. Now, tell the bot lane to go mid lane, okay? And you go bot lane. Boom, so you go here. Your turret's still up here, right? This is up, you go here, they go mid. Okay? So boom, they're here now. Now they're gonna use this. Now they're in a 2v1 situation. They are strong, and they have bot turrets. And you have the bot turret gold, and you're able to, with these two, they can push mid and take down this turret. Right? So that's 2 auto turrets down. The reason bot lane rotates the mid lane is because you need to be able to let these people push. AD carry is the best role for pushing turrets and dealing damage to turrets and pushing waves. They're very good at that thanks to their auto attacking, right? They revolve around auto attacking. So they are very good at taking down turrets. So boom, they take this, then they rotate to top lane. Top lane can go bot lane, and then you recall, you know, whenever they're done, then you go mid. Right, so top lane's down here, you're mid, and now once this 2 turrets are down, their bot lane will go top lane, right? They go all the way here, and they 2v1 the top laner, and push all the way, and get the turret. Boom. So that's 3 auto turrets down, thanks to your AD carry. The reason I'm saying this right now, like, okay, this is rotation, this isn't about cat or whatever. This has a lot to do with cat, because if you have a strong early mid game right here, once you take these stuff, you are set to go for the mid game. You have good map pressure now. You have all their auto turrets. This means this area here is no longer safe for the enemy team. And you are able to take Dragon, you're able to take Baron, you're able to take objectives that will put your team ahead. And putting your team ahead at this stage of the game is very important, because this is what Katarina wants. Getting this ahead early is so good for Kat, because it helps her transition to mid game so much easier, right? Sometimes you will have bad early games, but you will still be good in the mid game. But you have to try your best to not fall behind with Katarina, because her best state is mid game. She's very strong, so you want to put as much as you can into that. If you can play around team, make the calls, tell them, let's take this, then go here, then go here. You know, you have to talk to them, because they might not be in queue with what you're trying to tell them. Some people would just, typically what bot laners would do is, okay, well, they got bot turret, right? So this turret is down. Boom. Taken out. Done. Right? Let me just put the top laner back here. What they would do is, okay, they recall, and then after they recall, they keep going bot lane, and they keep sticking around here for tier 2, and then their mid laner is gonna rotate here, and their jungler might come, and then you're gonna be like, okay, well, there's 4 people here now, 4 versus 2, okay, well, yeah, then you can push mid, and you have to play around that if they're not going to listen and rotate mid. But it is far better if your bot lane rotates the mid lane and takes that turret, and then you go bot and just defend this turret. The reason you don't stay as 3 in the mid lane, by the way, like mid laner, AD carry, and support, after you take the bot turret. The reason you don't want to stay here is because you're sharing, 3 members are sharing minion XP. It's not an ideal situation unless this turret is very low health. You want to do that. And most certainly the AD carry and support are going to keep pushing here. So that's why you want to be here to defend. Katarina may not have the strongest defending point, but she does have wave clear. and she does have kill pressure, so you might even be able to kill their AD carry if their support, let's say, goes for a quick roam, right? And you see him, like, you see that, okay, well, you have a ward here, let's say he's roaming mid, boom, like, you can just insta-kill this AD carry, and he's dead. Also, a lot of supports like to roam at this stage when their turret is down, so a lot of the times, this AD carry is going to come back in lane, he's not going to think anyone's here, and then you just sit in this little bush, he's farming up, right? He thinks he's behind, right? He's behind, he doesn't have turret, he's sitting here, boom, free kill, push lane, shove it all the way, recall, regroup, and then go back bot, and until they get the turret, then, you know, you play around that. So this is how you rotate at this stage of the game. That's where you implement all your strength. That's how you play around the game and how to win the game properly. At this point, once you get all out the turrets, it's up to you. You can take objectives, Baron, Dragon, etc., etc. Just keep in mind that you want to put everything into mid game. This means playing as a team and taking turrets, and being able to do that will put your team ahead. In the mid game, you gotta play smart, you gotta play with the team, you gotta take objectives, turrets, all that stuff is very important. You have to punish death timers, very important that you punish death timers, because punishing death timers means you can take more objectives like Baron and turrets. So you're pretty strong. At this point, it will depend how you play the game on a mechanical level and how you play the game at game knowledge wise. That's gonna all come together, and pretty much you're set. Once you do all this, this is where you know you can win the game here. That's what I'm saying, that you gotta put everything you can in the mid game. This is what you do. This is the impact that you've had in this game. You roamed, you helped your bot lane take the turret, you literally snowballed this game for everyone. Alright, you didn't just focus on yourself and like, oh, I got 20 kills, 2 deaths, I carried this shit, I should have won. If you do this and help everyone else, you're gonna win as a team, because keep in mind that this is a team game and you cannot win solo a lot of the times. Yes, sometimes you can, maybe in lower elo, but if you're up in higher elos, diamond, platinum, I personally haven't been diamond, but I know for a fact this is how the game is played and how to win a game. You gotta implement these things, and once you do, you'll probably see some progress. Maybe you'll start winning more games, because I think this is very important. Rotations and understanding how to play the mid game, understanding how to play Katarina and what's her strongest points and weakest points, that's very important. That's why flat magic penetration is a very good stat for Katarina, because Haunting Eyes and Sork Shoes will help her so much in the mid game where they won't have much magic resistance, and that's her, you know, one of her strongest points. That is pretty much it for this Katarina school episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I will see y'all on the Rift. Peace out.